There's a quiet tension that lives inside almost everyone the moment someone says, "Tell me about yourself." It sounds simple, doesn't it? Yet suddenly, your mind becomes a crowded room. You start rehearsing sentences, choosing what version of you feels safest to show. People often think confidence is about speaking loudly, but sometimes the bravest thing you can do is speak softly about yourself, without pretending, without performing. When I first moved abroad, I realized how strange it felt to describe myself in another language. Every word felt like a mirror, slightly tilted. It reflected me, but not completely. Saying, "I'm a teacher," never captured the quiet chaos of what teaching means to me. Saying, "I'm from London," never explained the way the city still lives in the rhythm of my thoughts. Maybe that's the real challenge, not finding the perfect words, but daring to be seen through imperfect ones. Because language isn't just a tool to explain who we are, it's where we meet ourselves. And sometimes the most human conversations begin with the simplest truth. I'm still learning how to talk about myself. Stay with me, and let's explore how to do that in English and in life, without sounding awkward, without hiding who we are.
Okay, here goes nothing. My name is Marcus Hill. I'm 26 years old. I'm from Chicago. I like movies, music, and, pizza.
That's one way to start.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm filling out a form at the doctor's office. But when people say, "Tell me about yourself," I just freeze. I never know how much to say.
That's a very human thing, Marcus. Most people answer that question as if they were defending themselves, listing facts, building walls.
Exactly. It's like, "Here's my resume in 30 seconds, please like me."
And yet, real connection begins where the resume ends.
So, what should I say instead?
Let's slow down. Imagine we just met, not as teacher and student, but as two people in a cafe. I say, "So, Marcus, tell me about yourself." What would you really want me to know?
That's hard. I guess I'd say, "I'm someone who's still figuring things out."
Now that sounds human.
But is that okay to say in English? It sounds too personal.
That's what makes it interesting. When you talk about yourself, you don't need to impress. You just need to reveal a small truth.
A small truth?
Yes. Instead of saying, "I'm from Chicago," you could say, "I grew up in a city that never really sleeps. Maybe that's why I have trouble slowing down." It's the same information, but it carries a story.
That actually sounds beautiful.
And that's the difference between speaking about yourself and sharing yourself. One is data, the other is presence.
But when I try to sound natural, I end up sounding weird. Like I'm acting.
That's because you're thinking in grammar, not in feeling.
Wait, say that again.
You're thinking in grammar, not in feeling. English isn't just a structure, it's a rhythm. When you talk about yourself, speak from rhythm, not rules.
So, less like subject, verb, object, and more like, "This is what it feels like to be me."
Exactly. Try again. But this time, don't tell me where you're from or what you do. Tell me something small, something that says who you are.
Okay, I'm the kind of person who listens to the same song for a week until it stops hurting.
That's perfect.
Really?
It's real. It's honest. You just spoke in poetry without trying to.
That's probably the first time anyone's ever said that about me.
And that's the point. When you stop performing, your language becomes music.
You make it sound easy.
It's not easy. It's brave.
So in English, it's okay to be vulnerable?
Not just okay. It's what makes conversation alive. But vulnerability doesn't mean oversharing. It means choosing small truths that reveal something about you.
Like saying, "I'm a little nervous about speaking English today," instead of pretending to be confident?
Exactly. Honesty invites honesty. When you say something real, People listen differently.
So, what are some good phrases I can use to talk about myself more naturally?
Let's think. You could say, I've always been curious about, I'm the kind of person who, lately, I've been thinking about, each one opens a door, not a defense.
I'm the kind of person who, yeah, I like that. It feels like the beginning of a story.
That's because it is. People remember stories, not sentences.
So, if someone says, tell me about yourself, I could say, I'm the kind of person who gets lost in bookstores for hours, instead of, I like reading.
That's it. You've just moved from information to emotion.
You should put that on a t-shirt.
Maybe I will. From information to emotion.
But, Olivia, don't you think that's risky? Like, what if people don't get me?
That's the beautiful part. Not everyone has to. Speaking authentically filters the room. The right people will understand.
That actually sounds freeing.
It is. And remember, your voice isn't just the sound you make. It's the way you choose to exist in a sentence.
The way you choose to exist, wow.
When you speak about yourself, think less about what's correct and more about what's true. Language should feel lived in, like your favorite sweater, not a uniform.
You know, that's funny. Because every time I practice English, I feel like I'm putting on a uniform, trying to sound perfect.
And perfection is the fastest way to sound unnatural.
So what should I do when I get nervous?
Breathe. Then remember, you're not giving a presentation. You're starting a connection.
That's a relief. So maybe it's not about me being interesting, it's about being interested.
Exactly. You're learning fast. When you listen to others, you learn how to talk about yourself more naturally.
You know, that actually changes everything. Talking about myself always felt like proving something.
And now
Now it feels like introducing someone I'm still getting to know.
that's the best introduction of all.
So, Miss Reed, if someone asked you to talk about yourself, what would you say?
I'd say, I'm someone who spends her days helping words become bridges, and her nights wondering if they ever reach the other side.
That's beautiful.
Thank you, Marcus. And that's what English can be. Not just a language, but a mirror. You just need the courage to look. You know, Marcus, one of the most beautiful things about the English language is its quietness. It rarely shouts to be understood. It prefers suggestion over declaration. In English, how you say something often matters more than what you say. When we talk about ourselves, especially in British culture, we tend to value subtlety, not because we're afraid of emotion, but because we believe that truth doesn't need to be loud. There's a kind of elegance in understatement, saying less but meaning deeply. That's why when someone asks, "What do you do?" a British person might hesitate before answering. It's not modesty, it's reflection. We try to wrap a feeling around the fact. Instead of saying, "I'm a teacher," I might say, "I spend my days helping people find their voice in a new language." The meaning is the same, but the second one carries heart. It turns information into connection. In English, the smallest details can open doors. Instead of saying, "I like music," you could say, "Music keeps me company when silence feels too heavy." That's not grammar, that's humanity. The mistake most learners make is thinking that talking about yourself means describing yourself. But the goal isn't to describe, it's to reveal. You're not giving a report. You're offering a glimpse. And when you speak that way, even simple words, home, morning, rain, start to carry who you are. So, if you ever feel awkward, remember this. You don't have to sound perfect. You just have to sound present. People connect not to your vocabulary, but to your sincerity. That's what makes a conversation feel alive. That's how English becomes more than sentences. It becomes a mirror. You've been quiet for a while, Marcus. Lost in thought.
Yes, I've been trying to rewrite my answer. Tell me about yourself.
Good. Then let's hear it. No pressure. Just speak as if you're talking to someone you trust.
Okay, I'm Marcus Hill. I grew up in Chicago, a place that always feels like it's running somewhere. I used to think success meant running faster than everyone else. But lately, I've been learning to slow down, to actually listen.
That's lovely. You've already changed something important. You're not listing, you're sharing.
I was trying to remember what you said, share small truths.
And you just did. That sentence about slowing down, that's you showing who you are.
You know what's funny? I never thought about how much a language can change the way I see myself. In English, I sound softer, less defensive.
That's the magic of it. A new language gives you a second version of yourself. One that listens differently, feels differently.
It's like the words build a new mirror. I can see parts of me I didn't notice before.
And that's why I love teaching. Because sometimes learning a language isn't about communication. It's about rediscovery.
When I was younger, I used to think talking about yourself was showing off. But now it feels more like opening a window.
Exactly. When you speak from honesty, even a simple sentence feels like fresh air.
So I can say, I'm someone who's learning to be okay with silence.
Beautiful. That's presence. You're not performing, you're being.
You always say that language isn't performance. But I'm starting to understand it now.
Tell me, what part are you understanding?
That maybe fluency isn't about never hesitating. It's about being comfortable enough to pause, to mean what you say.
That's a lesson many native speakers still haven't learned.
Then I guess I'm ahead of the curve.
You might be.
You know what I realized? When I talk about myself in English, I can be a little more honest than in my own language. Maybe because it feels like no one's watching too closely.
That's a beautiful observation. Sometimes distance gives us permission to be real. In another language, you can rewrite your story without erasing who you were.
That's comforting.
It should be. Words aren't cages, they're doors.
Words aren't cages, they're doors. You always have these poetic lines ready.
Maybe they just appear when I speak with someone who listens.
Then I'll keep listening.
You should. Listening is half of self-expression. The more you listen, the more truthfully you speak.
When I started learning English, I just wanted to sound fluent. Now, I kind of want to sound real.
That's the best goal you could have. Real English isn't perfect, it's human.
I like that. Real English.
Then tell me, Marcus, who are you in real English?
I'm someone who's still learning how to belong in any language.
That's the most honest thing you've said today.
It doesn't feel awkward anymore. Talking about myself.
That's because you stopped talking to impress and started talking to connect.
So that's the secret?
There are no secrets, just presence.
Presence.
Yes, language isn't performance, it's presence. It's the quiet awareness that someone is really here, listening, understanding, even between the pauses. What are you writing?
Just a note. When you stop performing, your words start breathing.
Keep that. It suits you. Every time we try to describe ourselves, we build a small bridge between who we were and who we're becoming. Most of the time, we focus on sounding right, but what really matters is sounding real. Learning to talk about yourself is not just a skill. It's a quiet act of kindness toward your own story. Because when you learn to put your life into words, you begin to see yourself with tenderness. And maybe that's what language truly offers us, not just communication, but rediscovery. A way to understand that we don't have to be perfect to be understood. So tonight, I want you to try something simple. Speak about yourself, even if it feels awkward. Tell someone one small truth about who you are. Let your words be a mirror, not a mask. Because maybe talking about yourself isn't about impressing someone. It's about meeting yourself again in another language. If this conversation made you reflect, subscribe to the channel, leave your thoughts below, and keep learning with us. There's another video waiting for you right now, just one click away.